I gotta go, said I gotta go. I gotta go to the booty show.
This is Jolene with Fuel the Scene magazine. We're talking to JP from Your Mama's Big Fat Booty Band about their upcoming show in Charlotte. Super excited to have you guys come into town. And I just wanted to start with this because I saw it online recently and I thought it was so great that I think it's worth going back and resharing. Can you share the story of how the band got its name for those who don't know?
Yeah, actually, that's kind of funny because people have been asking that question for years. And we've done so many interviews and we've answered that question so many times that for a long time, we had about a dozen different stories because we got sick of saying the same story over and over again. So we started coming up with really goofy, some of the most silly stories for how we got the band name. But I will tell you the real story today. It was actually our original bass player and a friend of ours, Dee. They were just goofing off at work and they were kind of throwing around like, what are the absolute silliest band names they could come up with? And they were just throwing around all sorts of names. And Dee came up with Your Mama's Big Fat Booty Band. And it was hilarious. And that was actually before we were a band, before we had all met. And so we got the band together and we wanted to book a show. We had some songs. We didn't have a band name yet. And the venue was like, well, we're not going to book you if you don't have a band name. That's just ridiculous. And we agreed that's ridiculous. So we threw around some ideas. None of them really like stuck. And then our original bassist threw out the name Your Mama's Big Fat Booty Band. And we all got a good laugh. We're all kind of silly people in the band. And we're like, okay, well, we'll use that for one show, for the show. And here we are 23 years later, Your Mama's Big Fat Booty Band.
That's fantastic. I think that is just so funny. And I love that you guys kept it this whole time. So, and then as a follow-up question, when is the last time someone's mother attended a booty band show?
Actually last weekend. My mom came out to a show that we did. It was a private event, but we did it up in Banner Elk, North Carolina. And my mom and stepdad came out to the show. Yeah, the band parents have always been very supportive of the group, and lots of family members have always come out and you know, been there to show support of their kids doing their thing.
That's awesome. I was gonna ask what your mom thought of the name too. Did she originally be like, really?
No, she thinks it's hilarious. I think most of the parents know their kids are a little goofy, and so being in a band called Your Mama's Big Fat Booty Band is not that unusual, considering that we're all, you know, have a sense of humor and we have fun with it. You know, just the name. If you're walking down the street and you see it in big letters on the marquee of a venue, a lot of people just come inside because they're curious and they have no idea anything about the band, but there's curiosity. And I think that's worked for us, you know?
You know, if it works, you don't mess with it, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I wanted to, you know, you guys have played in almost every single one of the 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
I was very impressed by that. And I was wondering, if there was anywhere you guys could play in the world that you haven't played yet, where would it be?
I've always wanted to go on a European tour. The idea of going from country to country, like, you know, I've been to Europe before and I've seen, it's like all the countries are really close. They're kind of like the states here. And I always thought that would be really cool. And we got several offers to go to Europe, but they told us that it was they don't do over 5-piece bands, at least these companies. And I was like, well, we're not going to leave 2 members behind. So it's just, I think the logistics of getting a larger band from country to country, because a lot of these European promoters will set up everything. They'll set up the transportation, the lodging, the venues, all that stuff, the flights and everything. And so each person you add is like thousands of extra dollars. And so they kind of had a thing where they set a cap on 5-piece bands, which was unfortunate for us because we've only been a 5-piece for a very short period of time. It's always been like 6 to 8. So we have a horn section, and we have percussion. Sometimes we have keys. It's kind of over the last 23 years, it's kind of bounced around a little bit with the lineup. But I am actually the only original member that's been in the band all 23 years. So I've seen it through all of its incarnations.
Maybe if you guys could convince a few to like take up like contortionism, and you could pack them in a suitcase and be like, it's only 5 of us. We swear to God.
That would be fun. All right, buddy, you can come on this tour, but you got to put in that suitcase.
And no noises.
Yeah.
All right. So out of the states you have played in, what are we're wondering what some of the favorites were, like, or do you have any memorable on the road stories you haven't shared before?
I mean, if you were to ask most of our band members what their favorite city in the United States is to play, it'd probably most likely be all across the board New Orleans. New Orleans has always been very supportive of us. They actually kind of unofficially adopted us as a band. A lot of people from New Orleans, actually I ran into Trombone Shorty and his band last week. He played in Asheville, and then I was on tour with a band called Future Joy, and we had a day off in Asheville, and we went out to the Monday night mashup, and Trombone Shorty was there, and we were talking, and he's like, oh, so you guys live here now? I'm like, we've lived here since 2006. He's like, man, I thought you guys were from New Orleans. I was like, everybody from New Orleans thinks that we're from New Orleans, then we're just on tour all the time. And when we go down there, they tell us, welcome home. They have our records in the locals section. They play us on the local radio station. We've always fallen in love with New Orleans. They've been very, very kind to us. The musicians have always been super cool. So we really love New Orleans. We've always had really good shows in Colorado and California. Have been very receptive to us. So, when we toured more heavily, we used to always frequent those spots. And Asheville goes without saying, this is our hometown, and people have always been super cool to us here. And so we love playing. We love playing here. But there's lots of spots. I mean, we've been doing this for 23 years, and I'd say played probably like 80% of the major cities in the United States. And as you said earlier, 49 out of the 50 states. We can't drive to Hawaii, so that never made the cut. But we've played everywhere else, and we've met lots of awesome people and seen lots of really fun places.
That's awesome. And it makes sense to me that Colorado's on there. I moved to North Carolina from Colorado about 2 years ago, and I'm pretty sure that's actually where I heard your name dropped for the first time. So,
yeah. Our first show in Denver was sold out before we even got to town, and we were like, how do these people know about us? We've never played here before. So they were very
somehow. I don't even.
Yeah, I mean, they're really big on music, and they do their research. So it seems like when bands are coming to town, everybody's like checking it out and seeing what's going on. So I've heard that from other bands too, that they've just rolled into Colorado for the first time and had amazing shows. So.
All right. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying that's always been a fun state to play. And when we have days off, there's lots of fun stuff to do in those areas. We would always book a spring tour up there, and I was the one guy that was always snowboarding. Eventually, one of our drummers was a skier, but I would play the show, stay up all night partying with the staff, because everybody that works at the bars and the venues up there are super cool. And then we'd all meet up a few hours later and go riding. And they take me to their cool spots and, do some snowboarding. And then I'd either get a ride with somebody to the next show or hop in with the band and then go play another show and then party all night and then wake up and go snowboarding. And I could do that for about 3 to 4 days in a row before I was just like, okay, I need some sleep. But I did get to ride some really beautiful mountains out there, and it was also a cool way to bond with the people that work at the venues, because I consider those people my friends. They're not just people at the venue. They're like people I still keep in touch with these days.
Yeah, I have a buddy up there that is in a bluegrass band, and I don't know how it works, but I swear they play in the gondola going up the lift, and then they snowboard, and then they I don't know, but it
Oh yeah.
looks like a good deal for them, you know. So
There's a guy out there that does these interviews in the gondolas, and they have the bands play live, and it's called the Gondola Sessions. And we
oh,
actually
that's
we
so cool.
actually did that, so you can look up on YouTube and you can find videos. I think we did 2 songs in the gondola. It was a little tight in there, so we didn't bring the keyboards or anything. They brought us an acoustic guitar to play. We had our horns up there, and it was funny. The day that we did it, I guess the guy didn't get the proper clearance or whatever. And if I remember correctly, at the end of one of the videos, we're getting off the gondola, and the guy that did the interview is being approached by security, and we're just like, "All right, well, that was fun. We're out of here." And he's like talking to security about it. And on the way out, we passed the little boxes that had all the local publications on it, and we were on the front page. And it was just funny to me that we were like essentially like getting in trouble for doing these like gondola sessions on the mountain, and then as we're leaving we're seeing our faces on the front page of the
You're like, oh shit, we're really in trouble.
So that was kind of a fun thing. But yeah, we did that, and that was a neat experience.
Okay, this one's a little bit of an awkward song. Sorry, it feels like Friday. Awkward question. What is the most non-funky song that you secretly love?
Non-funky song. Well, I mean, I love classical guitar, and I would say that that's probably the least funkiest music. I mean, the first song I ever learned on guitar, my mom taught it to me, is a song called Malagueña. And I'm also a big metalhead, so
Really? What do you
yeah.
like?
So I mean, I grew up on my first band when I was 13 was a thrash metal band. So I was listening to Megadeth and Metallica,
Nice.
Pantera, and Slayer and all that stuff. So, I was kind of raised on rock guitar, but then I fell in love with the funk, and then yeah, so it's kind of a weird combination. I'm like one of the only funk guitar players that I see playing a Les Paul, which is like traditionally more of a rock guitar. But I rock out, and I mean that was a huge thing with George Clinton and Funkadelic, Parliament and stuff. Is
so cool.
They integrated a lot of rock into their funk, and that was what inspired me to get into the music and into funk music. And so if they can do it, then we could do it too. So it's like, hey, let's shred a little guitar and then get funky with it.
That's awesome. I love that. I used to love, Gwar and Korn and all of them back in the 90s, and then I heard the Dead, and now it's just funk all day long somehow. So I know what you mean. I don't know how it gets you, but I love hearing people like what they listened to growing up, because sometimes it's just the complete opposite of what you'd expect, and so yeah, I just find it fascinating.
I saw an interview yesterday with Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes, and he was talking about how he absolutely loves Outkast. And he was talking about how they're from Georgia and how they I don't know, it was just hilarious. I didn't expect that, but I think that's awesome because I love Outkast too, and I love the Black Crowes. So why wouldn't we all be able to like lots of? I mean, we've actually played festivals with the Black Crowes and Snoop Dogg on the same bill. So that just kind of shows,
Isn't that surreal?
Yeah.
You're like, wow, all right, let's do this.
Well, I mean, the jam band scene is just kind of taking everything. They're like, we are going to put all of this in one festival because we like all this stuff. And that's kind of cool. Les Claypool is like, yeah, I'm not really a jam band. I don't know how I ended up here, but he did, and people love him, and we're a funk band. We don't really improv too much. So we don't really fall in the jam band category, but that's the festivals that we play, and the fans that, come out to our shows. A lot of them are on that scene. So it's just, you can't choose who picks you. So,
but it is so cool though, because it's that type of music's reaching people like that it probably would otherwise never reach, and like vice versa, like people are almost starting to, it seems like people are starting to be more open to new genres now than they
Yeah.
were maybe, you know, a decade ago. But I think that's just so cool when it all bleeds together like that. But
Yeah, absolutely. Even electronic music, you know, is like,
yeah.
you know, really, you know, taking a big thing in the jam band scene. And I've noticed a lot of electronic music is really integrating a lot of world music into it, which I personally love. I love world music. My family's Colombian. I love throwing a little Latino vibe in there whenever I can. You know, there's some stuff in there, and so hearing that in like Middle Eastern music, and Middle Eastern music seems like it's really becoming really popular in electronic music, which I love that fusion right there. I think it's a really cool sound.
It is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So you guys have been staples of the funk scene for a while. How would you say that your sound has evolved since the early days, and how does that feel when you have, you know, your original members and now you've got some of those original members coming back into it?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's fun because we're bringing back, you know, we had all these songs that people fell in love with in the early 2000s, and because the singers that were singing those songs weren't in the band for 16, 17 years. We kind of stopped playing those, and so we just had our first show with the new old lineup. We brought back our original singer, guitar player, percussionist Josh Phillips, and we brought back our original saxophone player Greg Bob Halawa, and then we added a new drummer, Patrick Armitage, and so we are playing some of the songs we haven't played in over a decade, which is really fun.
Cool.
And now that we have a chance to breathe a little bit, we're getting back into the studio, and we're going to start writing some new material because everybody in the band has grown, and they've kind of leaned into different things. They've all learned a lot. Our singer Josh Phillips went on to do his own project, and there's a lot of people that love his songwriting and his singing, and so we've all grown a lot musically. So it's really exciting period right now, where we are actually getting together later on tonight to write some new music. It'll be the first new music we've written as this incarnation again. So we should have some new songs out real soon. Looking to get some recording done too. Hopefully we'll have something out by 2026, new recordings, because we haven't released an album in about 10 years. We've been all over the place. So we're looking forward to writing some new material and kind of showcasing the band that was, you know, together in the early 2000s, or like some of those members at least, and what we can do now. And I feel like it'll have the same funky vibe to it, but a little bit more grown up. Even playing some of these songs from the early days, we're like, wow, you know, some of these songs were written when band members were in their 20s, and now we're in our 40s, you know. So it's like, you know, definitely a different vibe, and we're kind of like laughing at some of the parts and everything. We're like, wow, this is like kind of simple or whatever, but then some of the stuff is super catchy. So you know, we obviously were writing songs back then that people loved, and so we're bringing those back, but we're also, you know, about to dive into writing some new material to kind of showcase what everybody's capable of these days.
That's awesome. And people love it when you dig out the old stuff that hasn't been played in a while. Like, that's like the best when you're at a show and you're like, oh, I haven't heard this in forever, you know? So
Yeah.
I love that. I'm so glad you guys are doing that. And keep us posted on the album. And we'll make sure we get an album review up for you guys and cover all that when that happens.
That would be awesome.
I know you've played Visulite a few times. Is there anything that you guys like in particular about that venue? I know it's kind of got like the funky like textures on the walls and that sort of thing. But I was just wondering if it was anything that you liked about playing there that brought you back again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've been playing the Visulite for a long time. Our first show there, we were opening up for the Dirty Dozen Brass Band, which was really cool because we instantly became good friends with those guys, and they just kind of took us under their wing. They really were super kind to us. They even had our horn section sit in with them at Red Rocks when they were playing with Dr. John and some other bands. And so it was really cool. It's that was our introduction to the Visulite. So we've been playing there for many years. It's a cool room. You know, it definitely has the cool theater vibe. So the backdrop is really neat. So all the videos and pictures from those shows come out really cool. And the stage is like not very deep, but really wide. So it kind of spreads us out across the thing. And Charlotte has always just been a fun town for us to play. Our first booking agency was out of Charlotte, Intrepid Artists. And
Cool.
so, you know, we did a lot of street festivals there. We've done a lot of events. We've played a lot of shows. I think our first real show in Charlotte was at the Neighborhood Theater. And we can believe that was our first show. They put us like in the big room. And
it wasn't a New Year's run too, wasn't it?
No, it was part of the Terrapin Beer tour. The Terrapin Beer Company had just started, and they put us on tour with some bands as part of their promotion thing to let everybody know about the beer, which was a riot because they had us with Barefoot Manor, and those guys were pretty chill, and they didn't really drink much. And then you have Booty Band, and we were crazy as hell. And so we drank all of our beer and then all of their beer too. And the guys, the reps, the Terrapin reps that they sent out with us were pretty fun too. So we had a really good time on that tour. And they put us in some really nice rooms. They put us in the Lincoln Theater in Raleigh and the Orange Peel in Asheville, and just a bunch of really cool rooms. And so yeah, we've been playing Charlotte for a long time, and Charlotte always turns out, and they always have a really good time. They're very enthusiastic. They dance a lot. So so it should be a super fun show.
It'll be a good one. And I know I've been hearing about a lot of people that are planning to go, and they're like, are you going, and seeing who's all going to be there and everything. So if you don't have your ticket now, you should get a ticket soon, because they're probably going to sell out real soon here. And get your butts down and see your mama's big fat booty band at Visulite on October 10th.
Yeah.